A young man named Yosela was walking through the market back in the old country, back in the Achrei, doing his pre-Shabbos shopping. As he turned a corner, he saw his rabbi looking at some apples. Just as Yosela was about to go up and say hi, he froze in disbelief as he saw the rabbi take a few apples, place them in his bag, and walk away without paying. Oy vez mir, Yosela thought to himself. Did I really just see what I thought I saw? Did the rabbi just steal some apples? He saw his friend Chaim a few stalls down, and he ran over to him to tell him what he saw. Equally shocked, Chaim went and told his friend Avi, who told his friend Itzi. And Yosela finished his shopping and went home. A few days passed when at yeshiva, Yosela was called from his learning to have a meeting with the rabbi. Yosela, the rabbi said, come with me. And as he went to follow the rabbi, Yosela couldn't help but notice that the rabbi had a small pillow tucked in his arm. Yosela and his rabbi walked to the top of the hill right at the edge of town, when the rabbi stopped and turned to his student. Yosela, the rabbi said, do you have anything that you'd like to say to me? Anything you'd like to ask me, maybe? Yosela gulped. Yes, Rabbi. I just want to say that I saw you take some apples from the market. The rabbi nodded slowly, looking down at his feet. Yes, Yosela, you did see me take some apples from the market. Now, is that something that you would expect that I would do? Yosela shook his head fervently. Chas v'sholom, God forbid, he said. I would never think that the Rav would do such a thing. That's why I was so shocked. Yosela, the rabbi said, if you see someone do something that is out of character for them, then it's always best to address them and to ask some questions. Because if you would have come up to me and talked to me, you would have learned that every Wednesday I teach Gemara lessons to Shalom, the fruit vendor. You would have also learned that since times are hard and Parnasa is hard to come by, that I have an arrangement with Shalom that instead of receiving payment for these lessons, I get to select a few apples every Friday to have for my Shabbos table. Yosela gritted his teeth nervously. Oh, he said, so you weren't stealing? No, Yosela, the rabbi said. And then he took the pillow from his hand, and in a quick move, he ripped the case open, bursting from the cotton a cloud of thousands of feathers that immediately met the wind and danced through the air, hovering down to the shtetl below. Yosela, the rabbi said, as a way of tshuva, I need you to collect each and every one of those feathers. Yosela jerked in astonishment. What? He said, that's impossible. There are thousands and thousands of feathers, and they're everywhere. There's no way I can gather them all. And the rabbi nodded. You're right, Yosela. It's the same when we speak negatively about someone to others. The feathers of our negativity multiply and multiply, scattering far beyond our intentions, and quickly reach a point where no matter how hard we try, we cannot undo the damage that we've done. Now, this is a famous story. And it's actually one that we tell in our playground service for Yom Kippur every year, so apologies, I'm sure some of you probably have this memorized by now. But it's an important story because there are a few times throughout the Jewish year where the topic of Lashon Hara, where the topic of gossip, of negative speech, comes up fairly organically. The Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, because we're focused on tshuva. And then these sections of our annual Torah reading because the mitzvah lo taseh, the negative commandment, appears repeatedly. And in our Parashat today, it shows up in chapter 19, verse 16, with the words, you shall not go out as a talebearer amongst your people. And connected to this pasuk, you shall not stand by your fellow's blood. Now there's a lot to unpack in those two short little sentences. But I want to focus on the latter part because this is where something really important happens. When the rabbis of the Gemara see the second line, you shall not stand by your fellow's blood, they darshan the prohibition as something tantamount to murder. That's important for us to know, that to speak lashon hara is to, in a sense, kill someone. And what they mean by that is significant. That when we speak lashon hara, we kill the perception of who a person is. And this is really strong language, but it's intentionally strong language. And by the way, we implement it in English as well. We use that same kind of language. We call it character assassination. It's strong language. But we see it all of the time. We see how one rumor, one bit of gossip, one accusation, even if that accusation is discovered to be untrue, it still does irreversible damage on how that individual is seen. It's why information or targeted propaganda is so horrible and so effective. Because even a completely crazy accusation, something that no one would ever believe, one that seems completely unbelievable, still plants a seed in our mind of, well, maybe. And then the damage is done. Now, all of this is important, and it's pretty well-worn Torah. I mean, the Chafetz Chaim has a whole sefer on it, on the power of lashon hara. But still, it's an important reminder. But what I want to talk about this morning is the hefech, is the other side of this topic. Because it's also vital to who we are and to how we interact with one another and how we interact with the world, but for some reason, it doesn't receive the same amount of attention. And that is the idea of positive speech, the opposite of lashon hara, or lashon hara, what we can call lashon hatov, good speech, positive speech. We never talk about this part, but it's crucial. And we're learning more and more about just how important this is. Because if speaking negatively of someone has the power to diminish them, to destroy our perception of them, then the logical follow-up should be, does speaking positively of someone have the opposite effect? And the answer is, yes, it does. If lashon hara destroys, lashon hatov creates. It builds, it edifies. To speak kindly of someone, complimentary of someone, and especially affirmatively of someone. To let them know that they have worth, that they have value, that they make a difference in this world, also plants a seed. And unlike the seed of lashon hara, which works like a parasite that consumes and destroys, the seeds of lashon hatov is like the seed of a fruit tree that grows and grows and blossoms and gives something to this world. And that is no small thing. That is a huge thing. It's a beautiful thing. And more scientists, psychologists, researchers are proving just how radically powerful that affirmation can be. In 1963, all the way back in 1963, a psychologist named Bob Rosenthal had an idea to give some lab mice to students and to have them teach their mice to navigate a maze. To half the students, he gave mice labeled maze bright mice. And to the other students, he gave mice labeled maze dull mice. There was nothing different about the mice at all. They were just arbitrarily labeled maze dull or maze bright. After some training, their mice, Rosenthal tested their maze ability. And over again, the maze bright mice dramatically outperformed their dull mice counterparts. Now, intrigued by this, Rosenthal moved the test to children. In his experiments, a group of students were given an IQ test. And then a handful of those students who took the IQ test were randomly selected and labeled academic bloomers. They were chosen randomly, not based on their first test or anything else, just a roll of the dice. And after a year where Rosenthal and researchers studied student-teacher interactions with both groups, the academic bloomers and the control group, they gave the students a second IQ test. And lo and behold, the bloomers group performed significantly better than their first exam, while the control group showed no measurable shift. All because they were given one word of affirmation. All because that one positive word changed the way they were treated, changed the way they were seen, and most importantly, changed the way they saw themselves. We speak so much about Lashon Hara, and we should. Its importance can't be overstated. It receives an appropriate amount of attention and discussion. But we are dramatically underappreciating the other side of our speech. We are neglecting the power of positive speech, of affirmation, of affirmative, of proud, of reassuring and hopeful speech. The Lashon HaTov. But we can change that. Because I know that all of us are capable of taking this research, this proven treasure of human language, and applying it in our lives to make our homes, our shul, our communities better, brighter, kinder, and better. To create a revolution of Lashon HaTov, to give the incredible gift of human worth and value. A torn pillow can let loose a lot of feathers. And in that same vein, a lit candle can overcome a lot of darkness. And one that is tended to, given fuel and oxygen and encouragement, it just gets brighter and brighter and warmer and warmer. That's you. That's you. That's me. That's all of us. The flames, the lighters, the stokers. So let there be light, for you are capable of amazing things. You are maze bright. You are a treasure to this world, and you're meant for incredible things. Shabbat shalom.